Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another review. I am Groovy Pants, and we are reviewing Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. I went and watched it last night, and I'll save my. I took notes during. I'll save my part till after we do the usual. Right now, we sit at 67% tomato, 89% audience. All audiences put it at 80. All critics put it at 67. Got 203 fresh, 98 rotten. Most average rating 4 out of 5. All right, so we're going to start with the critics as usual. We're going to do some negatives. Here we go. Okay, Stephen Procopi says, clinging to the past can be perilous for both archaeologists and moviegoers. And when the film acknowledges that, it works. When it reveals in its own mythology and thinks that passes for storytelling, it becomes a shadow of what these stories once were. Adam Ollinger says, we already gave Indiana Jones a terrible send-off 15 years ago. I guess they wanted to turn back the dial and do it all over again. John Urbankitch said, unfortunately, and too often, time does not fly swiftly enough through much of Destiny. All right. Now we'll do some positives. Let's see. Here we go. Feeling the years and the miles, Harrison Ford cracks the whip for the last time in a film that offers the requisite thrills and proves fairly emotional before it's over. See, that was Brian Lowry. Chris Hewitt says, it must be said that Dial of Destiny is not what anyone would call an original movie. But it also must be said that director James Mangold's team captures not just the elements fans hope for, but also the spirit of the three good movies in the series. And Sarah Michelle Fetters says, Ford's love for the character of Indiana Jones is as obvious as ever, and the 80-year-old living legend throws himself into the production with emotionally magnetic gravitas. All right, now let's go do some audience. All right, let's do some negatives. Just don't watch it. All right. Michelle says it was too long and never really gained momentum. Flygoff said boring movie, taking parts from previous movies in the franchise. Nala says, I would like my refund money back. Never even seen the movie and still didn't get my money back. Well, that's okay. That's dumb. We'll do one more. It's kind of hard to find them. That's kind of good, right? Okay. I don't know what that says. It was torture to watch. Wasted time and money. All right. Let's go back to the first page. All right. Here's some positives. Laura says, did not disappoint. Constant action and excitement. Lots of classic indie fun and gruff. I cried at the end and just feel so amazed watching Harrison Ford and the series. He's the best. Definitely will see it again. Great family movie. Lewis said, I like seeing Indiana Jones young and then in his present day age. The story was very entertaining. Indiana Jones is one of those iconic characters that will never be replaced. I'm grateful for this film and the studios respecting this character, not using this character as a prop to just get butts on seats. Let's see. Let's see a good one here. There we go. We'll end with Balboo. Indiana Jones movie as it should be. Entertaining, full of action, and a story that very much relates to Indiana Jones's adventures. The nitpicking critics just want to ruin anything good. Then they feel victorious. Ignore them. Okay. So, my turn. Personally, I liked it. It's hard to say. I liked it. I enjoyed seeing Indy. I'll leave it at that. I loved seeing Indy back. I'm a huge Indiana Jones fan, and I loved seeing him back. Now, just a warning, we're getting into spoilers. Okay? So, if you haven't seen it, you want to see spoilers, then click off. All right. My biggest gripe, really, was there was no Paramount transition. So I don't know, like a lot of. Hopefully, you guys have seen the other ones. It's just been like a thing, like tradition that Indiana Jones, and when it shows the Paramount Studios logo and the mountain, it transitions into the movie, and the mountain, it's either a mountain or some sort of formation. Like in Crystal Skull, it was a gopher hole or mound or something, but it always transitions from the mountain. There was no transition. It just went from the picture, black screen, movie, and I was like, "How are you gonna take that away?" Anyway, all right. Next, so I wish CGI was better. Like it's good. Like it's not bad in the movie. It's not as bad as the Flash CGI, but for some reason CGI they just haven't figured it out. I guess like it doesn't look real. Like their movements in the body, they're too rubbery. Like I feel like some of the stuff like an actual person doing it would be more you're more rigid. You're stiff. This you can kind of like parts of it when he's like running on the train made me think back to like Polar Express, like the way they moved and all that stuff. It's just that's kind of a little nitpick. I mean, it was good. It was all right. It's whatever. It's just I don't know. It's hard to look at, kind of. It's I don't know, but you can get past it. The de aging was pretty good. Some of it was kind of stiff. Moving around and stuff, kind of more. But that's to be expected. It's not perfect. They're still working on that stuff. What was weird was when he was de-aged to young Indy, like I'm assuming like back, when he's in his 30s or something during Last Crusade era, he still has, they didn't alter his tone, so he still sounds old, but he's got his young face. Like he doesn't sound like he used to like back in the older movies. So it kind of threw me off for a minute hearing old Harrison voice with a young face. But I got past it. Just part of it. So we start off a flashback. They're on the train. They see the dial. Blah blah blah. Then they jump to the present. Present for them. I don't think it didn't say. That's another thing it didn't do. The other ones do. It never said the year. I still don't know what year it took place in. Anyway, he's in like a little apartment. He doesn't have a house anymore, and he's divorced here. Him and Marion split. I'll get to why. But he's retiring from teaching. Like it shows him his retirement. They threw him a party, give him a clock and stuff. And you can kind of see, just how life's just kind of been giving it to him, taking stuff. He's just had it. And then, his goddaughter, which I wish like it was cool to see new people, but I don't like how they put him in there. Like you should know, like, oh, they've been, they're so good friends. He made him his goddaughter, or he's made him the godfather to his daughter, and I'm like, I feel like I should know this dude then. But whatever. New movie, new characters. I get it. But anyway, she shows up and she's like, oh, I'm looking for the dial, blah blah, and he's like, oh, we lost, it was lost, and then plot twist, he actually kept it, or at least, their half. So they go and they get it, and they're chased by the Nazis and stuff. You can kind of see that in the trailer, chased through the parade and all that. Fine. Oh, and then later in the movie, like she's kind of like going off without him, like she ditches him and takes off. So he's got to like chase her down and find her. Sala shows up. He's only in like he's in like the early beginning and then the end. He's not like a huge role. He just kind of helps him get to places, like gets there. But anyway, Indy chases her down, finds her. She's auctioning off the dial. She's in, she's trying to. her character, she's like in it for the money. She's just not like, oh, she doesn't really care about the historical value. Well, then you're met with what's his name? See if he's on here. Where's he at? You think he'd be like top of the list? Maybe it's this. Maybe he just doesn't have a picture. You meet this kid. He's a little Mexican or Hispanic kid that's with Phoebe, and he's kind of like her short round, I guess, and like the simplest to the point way to put it. He's her short round. My biggest gripe with her though. So the parts of the movie she kind of makes Indiana obsolete. Like they play like he basically like has to force himself onto her. Like, hey, you need me. Like, take me with you, kind of thing. And she's like, oh, I can do all that stuff. Like, he's like, well, you need me to translate the tablet. And she's like, well, my dad taught me the translations. And he was like, okay, well, I know a guy with a boat that can get us there. That's kind of hard. I didn't like that part, but it's whatever. They're kind of replaying the estranged relationship gimmick like they did in Crystal Skull with him and Shia LaBeouf's character, which it's whatever. It's kind of like a replay of that whole thing. Her dad went nuts over this thing. Shila's stepdad, whatever, went nuts over their skull. Yada yada. But my biggest gripe with her, other than that, is she talks too much. Like everything that goes on, she has to have something to say. And I think it's more of like a Disney thing, I think, lately. Because I feel like that's what was wrong with Crystal Skull and stuff. Is it's like Disney doesn't think that we can understand social cues. So like say Indy went to do something and it didn't work out. He was like, oh, I'm going to use my whip, swing over. He doesn't make it. Okay. Back in the older ones, he would just like make a face or do a gesture, and you'd be like, "Oh, that wasn't supposed to happen." Ha ha ha. Well, now the way Disney like they spoon feed it, like it messes up, and then they'll say, "Oh, that wasn't supposed to happen," or "That didn't go to plan," and it's like, well, yeah, obviously, you don't have to tell me. It's like they have to they hold your hand through the whole thing, and it's kind of annoying because she talks through the whole it's just chill out, lady. Like, you don't have to talk through every action scene. But sorry about that. Anyway. Okay, so we find out later that, they're talking to have a heart to heart. We find he's like getting drunk and stuff. We find out that Shia LaBeouf's character Mutt is dead. He joined the military in spite of Indy and went to war and was killed. Well, the death had an impact on both him and Marion. Marion was depressed, and he couldn't accept it, which caused them to get divorced. So that's why they were divorced, and why he's not in it. There's a quick Temple of Doom reference whenever he's climbing up like a wall, and he's talking about his age, and she's like, "Well, come on, blah blah blah," and he's like, "Were you ever forced to drink the blood of Kali?" Or tortured by voodoo, and it is kind of a funny callback. There is time travel. They do travel through time. We're getting towards the end, by the way. They travel through time, and they go back to this Roman siege, which Indy is talking about at the beginning of the film to his class. Apparently, like it's his favorite point in history or something like that. That's where Archimedes or something. What whatever. The guy who made the dial is there, and they come through, and then they crash. And they're in an airplane. They crash, or they get, I guess, shot down by the Romans with like catapults and stuff. They crash stuff, and Indy's hurt, and she's like, "We gotta take you back." Because like the portal or whatever the portal's closing. And she's like, "We gotta get you back." Skip this part. Her version of Short Round is flying another plane, like a smaller Cessna, and was following him and followed him through the thing. His plane's fine, so that's how they're gonna get out. But she's like, we gotta get you back, get you, modern medicine, get you help. And he's like, no. And then I don't know if you heard about these rumors, but yes, he wants to be left there because the way he sees it, it makes more sense, like context wise. The way he sees is, everything in his life's kind of gone or moved on without him. So he's like, why am I still, what's the point of going back? And she ends up knocking him out. And, we black out, fade, the screen goes black. Wake up, he's back in his apartment. And he's like, why'd you do that? And she said, you need to be here. This is, you would have messed up the timeline. You need to be here. And he's like, for who? And then we cut to the door. Sallah comes in, and then there's Marion. Marion comes back because she heard Indy was back. He's feeling better, I guess. Like he's kind of getting back his old groove. And we end with like they leave. Sallah takes Phoebe's character and a little short round, and they all go get ice cream, whatever. And you see Marion and Indy in the room together, and they finally come to terms with their loss. And he's like, everything hurts, and it's a neat little callback to Raiders. There's a scene in Raiders when they first get well, not the first time they get together, but when the first time they get together in the movie. He's like, everything hurts, and she's like, I know what that feels like. And it's when he goes, it's reversed in Raiders, it's her saying this, but in this one it's him saying it. He says, well, where doesn't it hurt? And she starts pointing areas, and he kisses those areas like she did for him in Raiders. And it ends with them kissing, and you kind of feel like a sense like they're gonna make it. And it cuts to outside. Phoebe walks off, and it pans up to Indy's hat hanging on a clothesline, and he reaches out and grabs it. But that's how it ends, and it's kind of sad. Like, so he didn't really get a big happy send off, like happy ending. It was more of like, after everything they've been through and stuff, they survived. That was the ending. That was the happy ending part, was that they made it through. And you can take that as like, oh, they're happy and stuff, but I mean, they still, they lost their kid. They've still been through so much. So it kind of feels like sad in a way, like they just barely survived. And I don't know. It was okay send. Like I liked it. It was definitely, it felt real, like a real send. But I mean, you could always go back and end it with Crusade, where they ride off in the sunset, or even if you want, end it with Crystal Skull, where they get married and live happily ever after. Either one of those endings are fine. This one is a little bit more sadder because just everything they've been through. But I enjoyed it. I love seeing Indy back, and you can definitely see that Harrison really does love the character. Phoebe's character was alright. She kind of got less annoying, but there was a lot of point where I was just kind of like, just stop talking. But wasn't as bad. She wasn't as preachy and stuff as I thought she was gonna be, but she talked too much. She had too many things to say. But overall, as part of the saga or whatever, the it's not really a trilogy, but the what, a series or whatever, I would give this, I don't know, I'd say 6.5 out of 10, mainly just because I loved seeing Indy back, and just seeing all that stuff. It's kind of funny to see he still kind of was doing stuff, and he's like, I guess, but compared to Crystal, I mean, it was more grounded than Crystal. Crystal, I felt, was a little too goofy. Like, it was just too colorful, too much like pop. But oh yeah, definitely a 6.5 out of 10. If you're a diehard original trilogy fan, probably would recommend you not watch it just because it does kind of, affect the way you kind of see him. He's not this indestructible action hero in this. He's, just a guy. But as just a casual moviegoer, it's definitely worth like a try. I mean, give it a try. If you don't like it, you don't like it. Not everything's everybody's cup of tea. But definitely, I'm glad I went to watch it just because I had to see the end, and as sad as it was, that's just part of it. I'll probably pick it up that way, or get the box set when it comes out of all of them. But definitely give it a shot. Everybody plays their part pretty well, and I don't know, it's worth the shot. Just give it a try. But thank you though for tuning into this review. Hope it helps you decide whether or not to go watch this or not. Next, I'm gonna try to do the Mission Impossible movie coming out. There's not too many movies out right now that I really care to do, or will be able to do. Me and my wife wanted to go watch that Jennifer Lawrence movie, which I was going to do a review on, but we ended up not going. Had other stuff going on. So my next review will probably be Mission Impossible. So stay tuned for that. And in the meantime, you guys stay groovy out there, and I will catch you all on the flip flop.
Janus!